today with the rest of the chapter, and I'm recording it so you can go back to it. But you will be having a quiz at the end of the period, and that's actually to help you guys out, and you'll figure. I'll tell you why or show you why later. So, chapter 3 about intentions. When we turn our actions away from being solely for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we spoil our intentions. And the example that he gave in the book is that there is this common story or a famous story where this kid's praying or this guy's praying, and these people are talking about his khushu, his mad khushu that he has in salah, and they keep complimenting him, and then after the salah he turns around and tells them, well, guess what, I'm fasting too. Okay? So, obviously this is something that hopefully it didn't happen, but you can see how major actions, okay, big deeds, can be nullified because of a wrong intention. Okay, if we're doing it to show off or to tell other people about something, then it could actually be sinful rather than being praiseworthy or getting reward for it. On the next page, on page 12, it says over here, this is very important about the 4 steps to sin. So it mentions Sheikh Yasin Rushdi in his book, The Heart, the Tongue, Their Sicknesses and Cures. He mentions this and they copied it. So I'm going to read it to you, and then this is going to be the 4th question. Okay? Actually, first of all, before we do that, I wanted to share a story with you, and then I'll give you the 4th question. So first, how can a wrong intention... actually, let me give you the story first. So there is this, I mentioned this in the Quran class before. So there was this one hafid, or there's a hifz competition that happened, and this was in Saudi Arabia. And one of the sheikhs I studied with, his friend was, he did this. So basically the winner, whoever memorized the Quran first, they were to get a brand new sports car. So his friend actually entered into the competition, memorized the entire Quran. I think it took him 3 to 4 months. Okay? And then he recited it, basically he passed and he got the car. And then he felt really, really bad afterwards about doing that, and how he did it for the wrong intention. And so he fixed his intention by what my Quran students, yeah.
He said, okay, I'm going to not forget the Quran.
I'm not going to ever forget the Quran, so I'm going to always review it. So if it was just for the car, he would have got the car and he would have just, okay, I don't care about the Quran anymore. But no, because he fixed his intention, he always kept repeating and reviewing the Quran so he would never forget it. So this is an example of how you can fix your intention. And the 4th question is, and the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd I'll go over later, but the 4th question is that how can someone fix their wrong intention? So go ahead and think of some ways of how someone can fix their wrong intention. So for example, they started off with the wrong intention, or while they were doing the action, they came up, or they had the wrong intention, and all of a sudden, they want to fix it. They have a change of heart. How would they fix it?
How many examples do you want?
1 or 2. I'll just give you another 15 seconds. So how can someone fix their intention? Remember, you guys are going to be turning these questions in at the end. Okay, Muhammad, yes?
They could tell whoever they're trying to show off to that they were sorry and they did it for that reason.
Okay, so maybe they could tell the person that, you know what, I was actually doing it to please you or get some type of thing from you, and so I apologize. But you're not really apologizing. When you mix your intentions, you're not really supposed to apologize to that person, because you didn't hurt them in any way. You are basically taking away from your own good deeds. So that's kind of maybe, but something different. Yes?
If you gave zakat to show off to others, like you told them so, later on, to fix your intention, you could donate even more, and then just don't tell anybody.
Okay, very good. So you give zakah, you give sadaqah, and you are giving it so people will call you, wealthy, and that you give a lot. You're very sakhi, like you like to give, and then you realize that was the wrong intention. So later on, you fix it by giving even more sadaqah without telling anyone about it. Yes.
If you had the wrong intention, maybe you can make dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to forgive you for that action, because you only take away from your good deeds.
Excellent.
And
okay.
then next time you can do the right thing. And you can
Very good. So you recognize that you did a mistake. You've made a mistake. You want to fix it, And then next time you keep that in mind, inshallah, even more. Muhammad.
Repeat the same action except with the right intention.
Okay, so repeat it, the same action with the right intention the next time. Yes, last one.
Like making wudu, then praying to our and after that making dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You change your intention and then you go and fix it.
Okay, so like making wudu, praying, and just to make it a little bit extra, right? So a lot of times we're like, oh, I'm just going to change my intention next time. But if you make tawbah and you actually go into salah, you go into sujood, and you ask Allah, oh Allah, save me from showing off and having this feeling in my heart that I want to show other people, riya basically, right? The hidden shirk. So if a person does this by praying and showing sincerity, maybe even giving sadaqah for this reason, and then making dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, maybe it'll be more effective. Muhammad, you're the last one. Yeah.
So this isn't an answer, but one of the shield, they said they should hide your good deeds just as you hide your bad deeds.
Yeah. So just like a person hides their sins, right? You don't like to tell people about it. You don't, especially people like your parents or older brothers and sisters and different people, you hide your sins from them. So in the same way, we should try to hide our actions, good actions. Okay, 4 stages of a person goes through before committing a sin. This is number 5. So what number 5 is, you're going to write the 4 stages. Okay? So what are they? There are 4 stages that a person goes through before committing a sin. The first stage is when the idea crosses your mind. Okay? And most of the time, shaitan insinuates this idea. So first stage is what? You just get the idea. Okay? You don't actually do it. It just gets into your mind first. Yeah. This is chapter 3, intentions. So it's chapter 3, questions. Insinuate means to push someone towards something, like whispering and stuff like that. Okay? You are not held accountable for this stage. Okay? So for example, at this point, an idea crosses your mind, but you don't act upon it, and you don't go further basically on it. You're not held accountable yet. So shaitan just whispers, and you're like, you think about it, but you didn't go further yet. In the second stage, you feel the desire to do the action. Okay? So first stage, the idea crosses your mind. Second stage, you start desiring to do that. Okay? Whatever it is. For example, a person is fasting, and while he is walking in the street, he smells a certain kind of food that he loves and automatically feels the pangs of hunger, and the desire to eat. This is a feeling which you cannot control, and hence you are not punished for it. So the first 2 stages, are you punished for them yet? No. You're not, because these are things out of our control, right? The third stage, though, you become inclined to commit the sin. Okay? Inclined, basically now it's a desire, and now you're like, okay, I want to do this, basically. You're making kind of an intention to do the sin. In the 4th stage, you intend to commit the sin. You have made up your mind. Basically, now you're like set. I'm going to do the sin. Okay? So inclining is 3rd stage. 4th is, I'm going to do this. Okay? You intend to do it, and so on. At this stage, you are judged by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. As the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, actions are only judged according to intentions. Now, what if someone, for example, they wanted to, they got the thought that they wanted to talk to a certain girl, or the girl wanted to talk to a certain boy, okay? And they get this idea in their head. And then the second stage was what? Desire. So they actually desired to talk to that person, okay? They actually had this thing like, okay, I want to go and talk to this person. The third stage was what? You're inclined to do it. So you're like, okay, a desire is like you want to do it, but it's kind of like whatever, right? Inclining is you kind of make this thing, okay, you make almost like a plan to do it, okay? And then the 4th stage was you intend to do it, right?
So that's when you're accountable.
Right? So 4th, you're accountable now, right? So what if a person goes through all these stages, and just as they're about to approach that person, okay, their parents come by. Okay? And the person, the only reason they didn't do that sin was because their parents came by. Is that person accountable?
Yes.
Or that person is like free? How many say he's accountable? Why? Yusuf. Okay, very good. So we have this in our heads now, right? So because it's based on our intentions, right? If a person, what if? Okay, let's change the scenario a little bit. Let's say this guy, he's about to take talk to this girl, okay? And just as he's about to approach her, he thinks and he remembers Allah Subhanahu wa Taala, and he has some taqwa. He's like, you know what? I'm right in the masjid, okay? I'm at an Islamic school. Why the heck am I gonna go and talk to this girl, right? Okay, why am I about to talk to this person? And that person then changes, like turns back. They're like, no, I'm not gonna do this anymore, right? Then is that person rewarded for their action? Yeah. Are they going to be punished for the sin of inclining or intending to do the action? No, they're actually going to be given reward because they stopped it. Okay? So this is how merciful Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is. And there's so many other examples, and actually that's one of the questions on the quiz, so I'm not going to go any further than that. Okay, so again, number 5 was just list the 4 stages of sin. Yeah.
I heard an opinion about that. It said that the inamad amal bin niyat doesn't apply to bad deeds. You only get accountable if you actually do it.
Well, if you are about to do it and something else stops you other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
It's also not accountable.
No, that's not true. Because if a person, like for example, they're going to rob a bank and everything, they're going and then they see, the popo standing right in front of them, right? You see a pig. No, I'm just joking. Okay. So you see someone standing there, and all of a sudden you're like, oh, I'm not going to do this anymore. I'm going to wait until tomorrow, basically, right? That person's accountable, right? That there's no way, because that person was about to do it, unless, again, like I said, they had taqwa, they feared Allah's punishment, and then they moved away. Yes?
Being inclined, do you get sin for that?
No, so for the fourth stage, basically, intended to do it. Yeah.
So I heard like if you have intent to do a bad thing, and then like you don't do it, you get like a good deed. And if you intend to do a bad thing, but instead you do a good thing,
Yeah.
like you still do a good deed.
You get rewarded for it. Bilal and then Yusuf and then... What's going on here? Okay, yeah.
So what if you had that thought like...
Oh, you're trying to delay for the quiz. Oh, I get it now. Okay, yes, yeah, go ahead.
You tried to, but it failed, right? That you would be held accountable for that. So what if you thought, I'll do it tomorrow, and then tomorrow you had a change of thought?
Then inshallah, then you won't be accountable, inshallah. Right? Inshallah, you won't be accountable. Okay, wait, let's move on. Hold on, we'll come back to it later, inshallah. It is always good to check our hearts when we are doing anything. At many times, we know in our hearts when we are doing something wrong. Right? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala built inside of us a fitra. Okay? It's a natural inclination to do good. So, we have, how you see them in the cartoons, you see the good angel and the bad angel pop up? Okay? Well, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala built that inside of us. We have a guilty conscience. When we do something wrong, when Maryam, no, I'm just joking. When she bullies other people, okay? And she's just hurting people's feelings left and right. Okay? She has a guilty conscience inside of her telling her not, you don't? Oh, okay. No. Yeah, actually everyone does. Okay? So, but, hold up. So the point is that a person has something built inside of them, of course, to do the good thing. And if they do something wrong, they feel bad and they feel guilty about that thing. Unless, and may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgive us and protect us from that, the ayah where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, خَتَمَ اللَّهُ عَلَى قُلُوبِهِمْ وَعَلَى سَمْعِهِمْ وَعَلَى أَبْصَارِهِمْ غِشَاوَةً. Right? So when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you could say, covers a person's heart, where they cannot tell whether something is good or bad anymore, and they're like, they don't, like for example, the Joker, right? Okay? Can he tell when he's doing something wrong?
Yes.
Even though he's fictional, of course, but does he get it?
Yeah, he's like, I felt so bad at that time.
Yeah, and he's laughing about it, right? So, yeah. So he's laughing about it. He doesn't have a guilty conscience anymore, right? So, as Muslims though, and inshallah those who are trying to do some good, we still have that little bit, at least when we do a sin, we feel a little bit of bad inside, we feel bad about it, okay? So, anyways, this is one of the things that says over here, the great Muslims of the past, they would always do soul searching, they would always be doing self-reflection, thinking of how they can better themselves, okay? And let's skip the next paragraph. Okay, so over here it says, this example should inspire us. I'll skip that. So it says, where is it? If when we do something such as help out at the masjid or give a talk, we find ourselves waiting for someone to say something to us or waiting around for someone to recognize us doing that good action, then we know our intention is impure. So if, for example, like you just led the salah and then afterwards you're like you're just staying in, like trying to listen in, like what are they saying about the salah, right? And you almost fall over. So that means that you are not, your intention, you need to fix it. Right? If you enjoy listening to every one of us, we enjoy being praised. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Now the problem where it arises, that's a natural thing. You're not held accountable for that. However, the problem arises when a person is only doing the action so they would be praised. Okay? So next time, for example, maybe the first time they got praised, the second time they do it, they didn't get praised. All of a sudden, they don't want to do it anymore. Okay, so that's the problem, and that's what we have to look inside of ourselves and see, is that us basically? Am I one of those people that if I don't get praise, I'm not going to do that action? Ramil.
Imam or something, that when he used to get praised, like he would say that these people don't know what I conceal inside.
Yeah, and are you supposed to praise people in their face basically?
Yes.
No.
Oh no.
Okay, you can be nice. Like if your kids are doing something good, then you say like "Mashallah, good job." You know, when you're married, stuff like that. That's different, right? But when you're going up to, and you like, oh my God, I love you, and like, there's people who literally do these types of things, right? They literally go up to people, and they're like celebrity worship almost, right? And they praise that person. Oh my God, that was the most amazing lecture ever, and they're just crazy about it.
About faints.
Huh?
About faints.
About what?
They're about to faint.
Oh yeah, yeah. Okay, so don't do that. Okay, next one. Hold on 1 minute. So it says over here, Shaitan will always try to confuse us. The best thing to do before conducting a good action is to take a few seconds and supplicate to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for the purity of intention. So what I want you to do is take 10 seconds right now, and I want you to think about why you're here, not because your parents force you, and I want you to try to fix that intention, okay? So that you will, inshallah, at least for the rest of the class, you'll get rewarded for it. No, this is not, no. So everyone just make a firm intention and think about why you are here. For specifically this class. And inshallah for the rest of this class. Okay. Number 6. Okay. There's 3 people mentioned in a famous hadith. Okay, that they will be the first to be, you could say, led to the hellfire. Anyone remember who they are? That's the question. Number 6. So again, there are 3 people who are led to hellfire first. Who are they? First Maryam and then Muhammad. Yeah, give me one. A scholar who is what? A'udhu billah, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect all of us. That a person is a speaker, a scholar, a teacher, a qari. They recite Quran or they teach people, they do these things so that people will praise them. Number 2. A martyr. Okay, good. And a person who fought in the way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and they were killed, but they did it so people will call them brave and Yusuf. And no. But these are kind of all hypocrites, but the third category will. Yeah.
A person who memorized the Quran for this, like, to be praised.
That's kind of part of the first. Yes.
The good donor.
A good donor. Okay. Is that what you're going to say too? Jazakallah khair. Sorry, I should call you brother, sister, and so on. Okay, so a donor basically is someone who's wealthy and they give only so that they will be praised and people will talk about how good giving they are and so on. And one of the things about this hadith, which is like pretty crazy, and this is actually number 7. Okay. List the 3 the people who are going to be dragged to hell first. You could say. Okay. So, those are the first 3. So, one of the things that Allah there's 8 or 9. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, 3 people, list the 3 people. Number 7 is, I'll give you 7 in a minute, but one of the things in the hadith that's important to mention is that before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells them basically that, they come up and He mentions the blessings that He's given them. Okay? He gives them over and over, like, I gave you intelligence. Like, for example, let's talk about the scholar. I gave you a good voice. I gave you intelligence. I gave you the opportunity to study. I gave you the opportunity to teach. I gave you this. I gave you all these things. He lists the blessings for that person, and then he asks them, he says, and what did you do with it? And then that person will say, well, I used to teach for you. I used to do this for you. I used to do this. All these things, they list them back, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, كَذَّبْتَ, you're lying. Okay, and why are you lying? Because you did it so that people will praise you, not because you wanted a good deed from me, or you didn't want a reward from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that person will be taken away. So these three people, the same thing will happen to all three of them, that they will be given the blessings first. Okay, and then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will tell them that they were lying. Okay, so the seventh question, why does Allah remind them of their favors? Of His favors, sorry. Okay, think about it. Number 7. Why does Allah remind them of His favors? Why does He tell them all His blessings first, and then He tells them, what did you do for me, or and questions them basically. Someone who hasn't raised their hand yet. Someone who hasn't really said anything. This is number 7. Come on guys, someone who hasn't. Yes.
I guess to show them what, if you did with the right intention, you could have got good deeds for it. So that then it,
Okay, so you could have changed your intention, but what else? Yes. Yeah, Ramil.
To spur the guilty conscience.
To spur the guilty conscience, to make them feel guilty about what they did? Yeah. Mm-hmm.
you show them that the person they just take, but they never give.
Okay, so they take, and they never give. I want to give you an example. Of course, Allah's example is the greatest, but just think about a person. Like for example, I own a business, and there's an employee I have. Okay, and they keep stealing from me, right? They keep stealing from me, and I gave them a job. I helped them out. I wanted to, help them out, maybe help their family out in different things, and I gave them a job. And even though maybe I had to train them, and I could have hired someone maybe more qualified, but I wanted to help this person out, and then they're stealing from me. Okay, what the person, like as an employer, one of the things they'll probably mention in the final meeting with them is they would sit them down and they're like, didn't I help you? Didn't I do this? Didn't I do all these things to you? And then yeah, I thank you for that. And then he said, well then why? And he'll maybe put on this video and say, why were you stealing that? Right? And it just makes that person feel like dirt, right? Right? It makes like, oh my God, why the heck did I do that? I shouldn't have ever done that. And so the same thing, this Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you could say, in a way, makes that person feel even extra guilty. Yeah.
Number 7 is, why did Allah say His blessings before he
Basically tells them to that why did or what did they do in return. Yeah.
What are some answers for that?
Maybe another one would be like they did it for praise, so He's giving them their praise, and then He's gonna give them punishment.
Yeah. Maybe.
So
Yes.
Maybe because he's telling them before he asks the question, so they won't first they'd agree with him, yeah, we did good. But if he said it after the question, it would have been, no, I didn't do that.
Yeah.
Didn't do that.
So that's a good point Muhammad makes, that it could turn into A'udhu Billah, you're arguing with your Lord, but because someone's going to get in trouble, like for example, again, the employer-employee thing, right? So employer calls his employee in, and he comes and he says, you've been stealing from me. And he's like, no, I haven't been stealing from you. And I love this new show, it's called Gotham, okay? It's pretty cool, and that snitch, the penguin, he was almost killed. Anyways, so you think about it and you write your own answer. There's no right answer, right or wrong answer. Okay? So, but again, the point is that the person that you've benefited, you helped them out, they do something wrong against you. Okay? It's worse. Like, for example, what is the punishment for someone who does zina before marriage? Yes. Yusuf.
Lashes.
How many? 100. Okay? 100 lashes. Okay? What's the punishment for a person who does zina while they're married or after marriage? Yes. Stoned to death. Okay? It's a very harsh punishment. Why? Because of the cheating. Okay? But, yeah.
To give them their punishment right now, so they don't have to suffer so much.
That's a side point, yes. But why is it more severe And she said it pretty much. So it's because they have the benefit of being married, they have someone taking care of them, they have all those things, but then a'udhu billah, they still do something haram like that. Okay? So it's just worse. And so this is the point over here. Now, this story isn't in the book, but there are 3 people who were trapped in a cave. Okay? They got trapped into a cave, and this big rock basically covered the entrance, and they you could just imagine, turn off the lights for a minute. Mariam, go ahead, turn off the lights. Okay? Imagine you were hanging out in a cave. Yeah, we don't do that anymore. But you're hanging out in a cave. Let's close our eyes. Okay? Seriously, close your eyes. You're hanging out in a cave, and all of a sudden, okay, a boulder falls in front of the entrance, and luckily there's no bears in the cave. Okay, that would be just crazy. But anyways, that'd be just like a really bad day, right? But anyway, so a huge boulder comes down. It's completely pitch dark. Okay, you're sitting in the cave with your 2 friends. So there's 3 of you, and you first try to push your way out. You try to find another way, and now you're getting desperate. You're starting to realize there's no other way out except the way we came in. And there's a huge boulder sitting there. And as you're sitting there, you start preparing yourself now for death. Okay? Because nobody's going to find you. Nobody's going to hear your screams. Nobody even knows you're there. Okay? And all of a sudden, one of you thinks of an idea, a brilliant idea. You're like, let's pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala by something very, very sincere that we've done. Okay? And ask Allah to help us out in this situation. One of the people, they say that, okay, so I'm going to summarize it really quickly. One of them, basically, he would go out to do, he was a shepherd and doing different things, a long day at work, comes home, okay, and you can open your eyes now. So you get the picture of you're still sitting in this dark place though. And he,
It's not really dark.
okay, yeah, I know, but you were supposed to close your eyes. Yeah. So anyways, he goes and he comes back, and one of the things he would do for his parents, because he loved his parents, and in their old age, he would bring milk for them, and he would give it to them, let them drink it before they would go to sleep. And he came late one night, okay, and they had already gone to sleep. So he goes and he stands there outside their room, waiting to see if they wake up so that he could give them their milk. Okay? While his kids are crying. Now, this is not something like, okay, let's go apply this at home. It's just a point of how sincere he was. He stood there all night long, okay, and waited, and then when they woke up in the morning, he gave them their milk, and then they drank from it. And then he said, oh Allah, if I did this for you, oh Allah, please help us out. And the boulder moves, okay, it moves, but it's not enough to get out yet. Then the second person, he thinks of a situation, and he says that, well, I had this beautiful relative, okay, it was like a cousin or whatever, a relative, okay, and he liked her, he wanted to marry her, but for some reason she couldn't, and she didn't want to marry him. So one day, or a time comes where she's extremely poor, okay, she was about to die of hunger. So she comes to him and she says that, give me some money or whatever, and he says, no, I'm not going to give you any money. Then he says, well, if you do zina with me, I'll give you money. And she's about to die, so she says, okay, fine. And just when they're about to, get together, she says, fear Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and he stops right there, and he basically leaves, okay? And he stops himself from committing this huge sin, and he leaves. And then he said, oh Allah, if I did this and I saved and protected myself from zina for you, and it was sincerely for you, then move it a little bit more, and the rock moves a little bit more. And then the third person comes, and he says, I didn't really summarize it, but I'm just saying it now. So the third person comes, and he says, I had a business. Basically, he had a lot of sheep, and he had the shepherd tending them or watching them, and he says to them, he says that he owed him, for example, let's say $100. Okay, and he said that I was going to give it to him, and he for whatever reason he left. He forgot, whatever, he didn't come. So he said, this business owner, or he owns this flock. He says that I invested that money, okay, and that money grew. So let's say, for example, you bought Google in 1998 or whenever it first came out, Okay, and Google was worth $20 at that time, and now it's like $700-800. Okay, so now it grew, thousands of percent. So this person, okay, he comes back. The shepherd came back years later, and he says, "Hey, I worked for you way back in the day, and you owed me a certain amount of money. Where's my money? Right? I want you to pay me my money." And the owner, he goes, this is, he's basically looking at a valley of lots of sheep and lots of different things. He says, this is yours. And he goes, what are you talking about? Are you joking? He goes, no, this is actually yours. I invested your money, the money I owed you, I invested it and it just turned into this much and so on. So this is yours. Whatever you want, take it, or take it all. And the guy just takes everything and leaves, right? And so he says, "Oh Allah, if I was sincere and I did that action only for you, let us get out of this situation." The rock moves more and they actually get out of there, right? So this is a beautiful lesson, and this is one of the things that we can do to make our, now think about this. We're in the first 10 days of Dhul Hijjah. It's very, very important days. Some of you guys are fasting too. And inshallah, every one of us has at least one action that we've done sincerely for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. What I'd like you to do for the next 30 seconds, I want you to think of one sincere action that you've done for Allah, and I want you to make dua about something. And please do not make a bad dua for anyone, like someone who hurt you or did something to you. Make a good dua for yourself, for your family, and so on. Okay? So I want everyone to think about one sincere action that they've done, okay? And I want you to make a dua about it, okay? Or using that. Oh Allah, if I did this sincerely for you, do this and this or whatever, okay? So go ahead, I want you to take 30 seconds to do that first. Hold on. You do not have to write this down, no. Okay?
There's only 7 plus.
No, there's 8. There's one more. So again, think of one sincere action that you've done and make dua by it. Okay, inshallah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept all of our du'as and our sincere intentions, inshallah, and let us do more actions with those intentions. Okay, so the last thing over here, the practical solutions. I'm going to read through some of them, and then number 8 is basically you come up with your own. Okay, so before any action, especially worship, make your intentions clear to yourself and purify them. Okay, so make your intentions clear and purify them as much as you can before you actually do the worship. After completing any action, ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to accept your actions. Okay, after completing the action, ask Allah to accept it. When did Ibrahim alayhi salam and Ismail, his son Ismail, make a dua? رَبَّنَا تَقَبَّلْ مِنَّا إِنَّكَ أَنْتَ السَّمِيعُ الْعَلِيمُ وَتُبْ عَلَيْنَا. Yeah. After building the Kaaba. Imagine that, a huge deed, a really, really big blessing. They could have been like, oh, I just built the Kaaba, right? I'm Mufti Saab. Okay, so anyways, but this is something, a big deal, right? And what did they ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala right after? رَبَّنَا تَقَبَّلْ مِنَّا إِنَّكَ أَنْتَ السَّمِيعُ الْعَلِيمُ وَتُبْ عَلَيْنَا إِنَّكَ أَنْتَ التَّوَّابُ الرَّحِيمُ. They ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to accept it and to forgive them, right? Because maybe they made some mistakes. So after doing the action, also making dua. Before doing anything, search your heart for the reason you are doing the task. Is it for fame, to show off, etc.? Turn a mundane action into worship by rectifying your intention, thereby connecting the action to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Okay? So even if it's like picking up some trash, nobody's watching you, you go throw it out. This is a mundane action, it's a small action, but because you're doing it for Allah and you know that Allah is watching you, it turns into a big deed, inshallah. And the last one over here, it says, remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will reward you for even thinking about doing a good action. Okay? Even if you just think about it, you make an intention to do something good, you'll inshallah get rewarded for it. So number 8, again, was come up with a few more. I want you to write 2 or 3 more ways to improve your intention. Okay?
2 or more, 3 or more.
2 to 3 ways to improve your intention. So other
That's
tips,
number 8.
yes. Other ways to improve your intention.
Three ways?
2 to 3 ways. We have 2 minutes. But your plan has not worked because I have an idea.
Because you're smart.
I'm very sad.
Maybe.
Brother, I have a long question.
Very
Okay. So number 2, those who missed yesterday, just really quickly, I'm going to repeat number 2 and 3. So number 2, think of an example in your life of a major deed that you've done, but it wasn't for the right intention. Okay? And then I want you to think of vice versa, basically, a small deed that you've done for a good intention. So the sisters did this yesterday, but for the brothers who missed it, this is number 2. Okay? So think of an example or a time in your life where you did a big deed. Maybe it was praying all night long. Okay? But you did it for the wrong reason. So it would have canceled out that deed. And then on the opposite end, you did something small, but you did it for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala inshallah will magnify it.
Yes, a small one.
Yes. Okay, that's number 2. You can think about it, do it at home inshallah. Number 3. What are some other actions that can become very rewarding? Okay, they're basically mundane actions that we would usually overlook, but they could become very, very rewarding. Okay, that's number 3. So again, number 3 is, what are some small actions that usually people overlook them, okay, but they could be huge in reward. Okay, small actions that could be huge in reward. So come up with some examples of what they could be.